Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA Podcast. I'm your host, André Natera. On today's episode, we have Tavel Bristol-Joseph. He's a chef. He's a pastry chef. He's a restaurateur. He's part of Emmer Rye Hospitality. He recently received 1 Michelin star for Hestia in Austin, Texas, and 1 Green Star for Emmer Rye. We talk about mental health, his new dessert restaurant in Nicosi, hospitality, and culture. I think you'll enjoy this one. Stay tuned. Chef, good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
I like that we're both kind of matching. we dress as I think we got the memo.
Yeah, I mean, the black makes me look slimmer on camera. So this was intentional.
Oh, me too. Me too. I'm not, the camera adds 50 pounds or something, right?
Right.
By the way, congratulations to you and Kevin and everyone on the team for the most recent Michelin awards.
Thank you.
So the Green Star, the 1 star for Hestia. I feel like all your restaurants were nominated.
Yeah.
How does the team? Are you still on cloud nine?
Man, we're so excited and so appreciative too of all the love and support that we've gotten. Outside of getting the award, like, it's even better when people come in and they're like, "Oh, I knew you were gonna get it." You know what I mean? Or you deserve more. Like that's just the icing on top. So our regulars are excited. People that we didn't even think was paying attention is paying attention. And I think that's what's the more fulfilling aspect of it. But overall, just to be recognized to what we're doing. And I mean, we've been at this grind for 9 years.
Yes.
So for 9 years in Austin. So for us to be recognized on the level in which we have been, there's no words that can explain that.
What did you do to celebrate night of?
Man, we went to a wine bar. Yeah, so bougie, bro. We went to a wine bar and had a nice glass of wine. With the team. We took it was probably about 10 of us there. So the team there, we just went to one bar, just kind of sat back and had some great conversations.
Yeah.
And then we're working on getting something together in Austin so we can get the team together and just celebrate. But it's just been great.
Was it surreal?
Absolutely, man.
I saw Rico was on the show right after he won the award. We did a Michelin panel, right? And so I saw the photos of you and Rico and Diego and Kevin on stage, and I was like, man, I couldn't be happier. I was watching, from my bed on YouTube. Right, and I'm in a couple of group texts. Right, I'm in one with Matt Peters and Junior, and another one with Gabe, and we're like, oh look, and we're all cheering you on. I couldn't be happier.
Yeah,
I could not be happier for you all.
It was beautiful, man, and yeah, I mean all those guys, they're just good people, but it's weird sitting there watching this thing happen. It's one of those things where you're like, we all have the dreams of I'll hell yeah, I'm gonna do that shit. And then you actually sitting in it and watching it, you're like, holy shit, it's actually happening. It's right in front of my face. Yeah. It's insane, man. It's a crazy feeling.
So I was at Isador.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I feel like. I ate there with John Brand.
Yeah.
I got to see, I saw Kevin, I saw Jorge, and I feel like, I don't know what the secret is, but every single one of the restaurants in the group have such a unique identity, and the food is just always on point.
Yeah.
And it was just another one. I was like, I haven't been here. I've been to all the other ones. This one's great.
Yeah.
It's another great one. But you also have, I haven't been to Nicosi.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, this is a pretty special place too.
Yes.
So
yes.
I want you to tell people about that, because a lot of people need to know about this. This is really cool.
Yeah. It's such a fun space. So Nicosi is a concept that I thought about since I was 17 years old.
Okay. By the way, where are you when you're 17 years old thinking about this?
Right. I'm in New York City. Just moved to New York. I started culinary school at the New York Restaurant School. Right after culinary school, I started working at the River Cafe. And when I got to the River Cafe, you should have seen me at that time. I had gold chain on, braids, crazy. Yeah. And then the chef there, this guy, Francisco, he went on to be the pastry chef at French Laundry, then he went to the Modernist, and now he is the pastry chef at Noma. He just got on there a couple months ago. But super talented chef, and he was like, you young, you seem like this is something that you want to do. If you want to take this seriously, I got this place I want you to check out. And it was called Room for Dessert in the city. So I went there, barely had any money. And I was like, I am going to just go experience this thing. And I walked in. I would never forget it. It's this long hallway, essentially, with like a bar. Mm-hmm. And you sit down. They give you menus, like 6 or 7 items on the menu. And you pick what dessert you want. And you watch them plate it up in front of you. And they present it. Mm-hmm. And it was all desserts with wines. And so I was like, this was the first time that I saw desserts on the front page, right, where you walked in and that's what you were getting outside of a bakery or something like that. Mm-hmm. So at that moment, I was like, well, this is what I want to do. And this is one day I want to open up a space that looks and feels like this.
So people that were unfamiliar, because I'm unfamiliar with this place.
Yeah.
What did you take with it into the new space?
So what I took with it was the same thing I just mentioned. How do I create a space where dessert is the main focus? Mm-hmm. And throughout my travels and experiences, what I've gotten connected to different flavor profiles and techniques on how we make things, and also what does hospitality means and feel, right? Mm-hmm. So I was able now to like put that into this melting pot and then create something. So starting from the name, desserts it's an option. You go to a restaurant because you want to eat the food. You're hungry. Dessert is if I'm in the mood for something sweet. No matter how popular the pastry chef is,
right?
You're there. You might have dessert because the pastry chef is popular, but 90% of the times you go to the restaurant to have the entrees. Optional. Same thing with your middle name. Sometimes your best friend that you've been around for years, you don't know their middle name. Very optional. So Nicosi is my middle name. Mm-hmm. Dessert is an optional thing. I wanted to put those two things together where it's now the thing that we talk about. And it's a expression of self. So this space is really a part. It's the 17-year-old me that wanted to create, that was so excited about innovation, that was so excited about showcasing the talents of the art of pastry. This is what that space represents. So it had 20 seats, 10 courses, 2 seatings a night, no menu, no phones. It's just a space to be present. And the reason why I wanted to make sure that there was no menu is because storytelling is such an important part in our business. And I think a lot of times when people don't understand our food, it's because it gets lost in translation. And I want to be able to have that conversation with you where you can ask that question you wanted to ask. Mm-hmm. Also, you can see me put this thing together and present it to you. So there's no curtains. Mm-hmm. And the other part is we live in a society right now where we carry in trauma from the past, and we are also walking with anxiety for the future. So there's not too many people that's present. And what they consider present is sometimes not present because your thoughts are taking you places. So if I can create a room, a space, where you don't have a choice but to be present without telling you have to be present, where I removed all transaction and everything is something of deeper meaning, then that's how we change the world, I believe. And I'm just doing it through food. But it's all part of the therapy. It's all part of having that mental health, that strength, that understanding of how do we coexist in spaces together as humans and talk and be present like, oh, you like that dish? The person next to you that you just met. What's so exciting about the other dish? You know what I mean? Like those are those conversations that I hear in that space. And that's what makes it really special.
So for people that haven't been there and that are thinking about going there, like for me, how do you navigate a tasting menu with all sweet courses or all desserts?
Right. So we focus on the 4 major flavor profiles. So we have acid, umami, which is salty. Acid could be sour, right? Whichever words you want to determine that. Bitter and sweet. So when we say something is acidic, like we're really bringing out those flavors. So it's essentially the same way you eat when you go to a restaurant, where you order the crudo and the salad that gives you that acidity. And then you go into your pasta, which could be considered your umami. And then you're going to finish off with probably a steak or a grilled chicken, which is bitter because it's burnt. And then you finish with something sweet. So we carry you on that journey. We're using dessert techniques to make something. So if you make a souffle, that's a dessert technique no matter how you play it. When you make a mousse, that's a dessert technique no matter. It could be sweet, savory. It's still a technique in how you create something. So we're using like black garlic. We're using like misos. We're using all of those different flavor profiles, beef, bone broth, all of those things to create these dishes that takes you on a journey.
So a lot of the flavor combinations then that you're using and for a first-time diner, they're going to be unexpected. It's kind of also breaking preconceived notions of what dessert is.
Unexpected but familiar.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So the techniques are familiar. There might be some familiarity, but you're also taking them on, hey, let me take you out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Exactly. Because you don't expect black garlic to be part of dessert, but you know garlic.
Right.
Right? Like, so I tried to like give you that. So you do know chocolate, yes, but you haven't experienced 100% cocoa. And when I say 100%, I mean they use the whole pod, everything, which creates a different flavor profile. That's the experience you're gonna have there that you didn't think. Cheese can go both ways. So we're able to use cheese as umami. Those are those things. So you understand it, but you're like, how did you use cheese to make a sundae? That's how we're bridging that gap.
So you also mentioned hospitality. So how do you incorporate hospitality into Nicosi, but also what's the common thread that's throughout the entire group when it comes to hospitality? Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to what I mentioned earlier, because hospitality comes into the end of the day. Hospitality is just how you make someone feel, right? And all that depends on the individual. So when we talk about a group wide, our goal is to remove this transactional relationship that people have with food to something of deeper, deeper meaning, right? So if I can make your decisions that you make easier and more sustainable, then we are extending a level of hospitality that most people don't. So I can extend knowledge through the level of making you feel comfortable, making you feel like you belong to a space, making you feel like you're part of the space. That is what hospitality, that's the level of hospitality we want to provide. Instead of sitting here trying to teach you about koji and why it's important and how sustainability works and we do all our vinegars. And yes, we do all of that. But if I can just say to you, listen, we make delicious food. Come in and try it out. And if you don't like it, great.
So you have, I've lost count. You have a lot of restaurants in the group.
Yes.
How many is it?
We got a total of 10.
10. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember when Emmer first opened. It was just Emmer.
Just one.
It was just one, right? Wow.
And the plan was just to have one. Actually, the plan was 2.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be open Emmer, and then I was going to come help me and Kevin open up Emmer, and then I was going to open up a dessert bar.
Yeah.
That was it. Nothing else.
And now 10.
Now 10.
Plus Pullman Market.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. That's 11.
And if people haven't been there, so it's inside the Pearl in San Antonio.
Yes.
And it's massive. I was there a couple weekends ago, and I ate one of the monster cookies, and
Okay.
I ate some pasta. I was with Rico. We had some pizza, and it was just
Awesome.
So I love all the concepts that you all have put together. But with hospitality, so you have this group with 10 plus Pullman Market.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think is unique about your group is the hospitality feels seamless from restaurant to restaurant to restaurant.
Yeah.
I've always had a great experience. So how do you scale that from an operations standpoint to the entire team? How do you transmit your passion and your knowledge and the hospitality that you want to give to people? But okay, great, you can't be everywhere at once. So what's the method?
Yeah. So it's really interesting because as chefs we think we can do it all, and we also think that without us nothing moves.
Right.
Which is incorrect, right? Everything can move, just not in direction, and it continues to move. Maybe not in the direction you would want it to move, but it's moving. What we figured out is we have a corporate team now. Mm-hmm. So it's 5 business partners, and we all have our respective lanes in which we do, whether that's HR, fine dining, hospitality, we all have our lanes. We're able to focus. I'm focused on my management team because I believe that that's where it's almost like creating a critical path. Mm-hmm. What a lot of managers get mixed up with, leaders in general, they try to control every aspect of the business. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, you're going to run yourself crazy and you're going to get burnt out. If you can create a line that is just the critical points, something simple as, I don't care where the lettuce goes in the walk-in. What I care about is the lettuce is washed and it's put in the correct box and it's labeled properly. Your job is to put it anywhere in the walk-in you choose. Most chefs, we are like, well, we want the lettuce here. We're focused on the wrong things. Mm-hmm. So if I have a team of people and I can say, well, you're going to focus on the day-to-day training if they got caught up and all that. These are the points that I need the team to understand and know. When you walk into this space, you need to feel welcomed. Mm-hmm. That is our priority. Your interpretation of welcome is different from mine. So there is a human aspect to this thing. But at the end of the day, we need to make people feel welcomed. So you tap into what makes you great, mm-hmm. and then show that. Because nobody cares about what you're not great at. There's people out there that wants to magnify on your flaws, mm-hmm. but majority of the people, they only want to see your greatness. Mm-hmm. And if you believe that, then it gives you the ability to be more confident in yourself and where you show up. So I focus 100% on my management team. And then I move through the spaces as an example of what I am teaching my management team. And they are now able to carry that through. So when I walk in the building, I'm shaking every single person's hand in our building. Mm-hmm. I'm saying hi to everybody. I got a smile on my face. I got the right energy. Mm-hmm. I am not telling them to look at me. I'm living it every day. Mm-hmm. And then when we're having conversation on how you make people feel and what systems we need to put into place to give people comfort when they walk in, those are the building blocks. But those are our critical path that we're kind of focusing on, those points on how we make sure we show up in a space. But people are really interested, dynamic. Yep. Changes week to week. Mm-hmm. I'm different without the person I was last week.
Sure.
So there's no clear definition on hospitality. I know that it's been written in a couple of books, but when you're in the game, it's just like, let's just use basketball.
It's like a moment. You feel it, you know what to do at that moment.
Go on it. So you have to teach people how to feel. Just like as a chef, you have to teach people how to taste, not cook. Taste.
Right.
Cook is a technique. Taste is a craft. It's a skill that you cannot teach just like that, easy. It's something that you have to work with someone.
Yeah.
to get.
Yeah, there's that old expression that sometimes the chef is not the best cook in the kitchen, but they're the best taster.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. 100%.
One of the, I don't remember which restaurant it was. I think I was at Emmer. And I remember you came over to the table and we're talking, and I'm paying attention to your movements because I notice every little thing. And while we're talking, I noticed you wiped the table and poured water.
Yeah.
And I was like, you were, and you're still talking and we're having a conversation, but you were like, just like nothing.
Yeah. But that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
It should feel seamless.
Right.
Where we are engaged in this thing and this display that's happening. You're part of it, I'm part of it. I'm watching your eye contact. If you look down at a plate, I saw that. That means I know I need to move that. It's those nonverbal actions that makes you better at hospitality. So teaching someone to pay attention and be present.
Do you have hospitality pet peeves?
Ah, my God.
Just one.
Hospitality pet peeve, I think my first one that can come to mind is the opening spiel.
Yeah.
When you go to a restaurant.
Sometimes it's too long.
It's too long, and it's also sometimes you're like, great, I'm glad that you guys focus on this and this and this and this. You could have folded that in the conversation when you drop the first dish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This opening thing of like, this is what we do. If you don't know about us, we do this, we do that. I've done a little bit of research. That's why I showed up. Mm-hmm. I already have one step in.
Right.
Now, I didn't just happen to stumble into this place.
Yeah,
I made reservation.
Have you ever been here before? And you say no, and then they tell you everything on the menu. It's like, I could read.
Yeah. Those are those things. Like, read the room, right? Read the room.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, we could probably talk about hospitality pet peeves at length, but I won't spend too much time on that. One of the things that you mentioned, and I kind of want to tie this into multiple things. So I talk a lot about kitchen culture on Chef's PSA, and every day I put up a daily post, which is somehow tied into kitchen culture. It's what I'm passionate about, and I know you're passionate about culture as well. So when you're creating a culture of hospitality, how do you create the culture in the culinary environment? What does that look like when you're building it?
Yeah. So one, I think the culture comes in, for me, culture comes in these different shades, right?
Yeah.
Because culture comes from the thing that I grew up in, that is something that's traditional. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. And then, there's our hospitality culture, in which these are things these are pillars that we've stood on, that our business is built upon. Mm-hmm. So this is what we do. And then there's the overall culture in the restaurant industry, where yes is the answer, what is the question? Mm-hmm. So there is that level, right? How I like to go about, when we talk about culture in space, I like to tap into what are we trying to achieve here, mm-hmm. With this space. So if we're going to do, like, for example, a kanji, mm-hmm. that space represents a specific culture, a Caribbean culture, right? Not Guyanese, not Trinidad, not Jamaica, but a Caribbean culture. What does it feel like to be in the Caribbean? Mm-hmm. What does it feel like to have interaction with someone that is from the Caribbean? That's what I'm trying to give. The food is delicious. It's good. It's representation of a specific country, a technique, all of those things. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, what does it feel like to interact and be present in a space with someone that is truly from the Caribbean? So I'm going to focus my hospitality around that. Mm-hmm. And the fastest word that came to mind is welcome, mm-hmm. because that's how I felt when growing up. And that's what my household was. I had a lot of aunties and cousins that were never aunties or cousins. You know what I mean? They were mom best friend. but that's Auntie Shelley. You know what I mean? That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Because her whole thing was, welcome, come on in. Mm-hmm. So when I thought about Kanji, it was, I want every single person. I don't care what nationality you are. I don't care where you're from. You should feel welcome that you're a part of this. I'm not creating a space that's just for Caribbean people. I'm creating a space that anyone can come and experience Caribbean food and culture. Mm-hmm. And that's what that means to me. It's very similar to what when we created Emmer, mm-hmm. was we want to make that true connection of what Texas food is, not what Texas food is known for, but what Texas food is. So working with all the farmers and ranchers and saying, this grows well in Texas, mm-hmm. we will highlight this. And if you want to change next week, we will change our menu too. We're locked in with you. And there's this relationship. So how do we create hospitality around that? When you sit down and talk with a farmer, they make you feel like it's some of the most humble people we know, mm-hmm. right? Hard-working, humble people. So our hospitality needs to reflect that when you walk into the restaurant. And I lock in on those things. So when I think about the name of a restaurant, when I think about the type of food we're serving, I will do my research on what does this represent. If like Calimocho, Basque Country, how does it feels if I'm in the Basque Country, mm-hmm. and what does that represent? Isador in San Antonio, that's essentially a marriage between Hestia and Emmer, if you really think about it, sure. right?
Yeah.
It's that focused on Texas, but utilizing these really cool techniques. Mm-hmm. How does that feel when I say that to you? And then I create what the hospitality should look and feel like in that space, and then I teach that to my general manager.
So I want to go back. Early days of Emmer Rye, before you have everything, and you're in the beginning stages of creating what is now 10 restaurants plus Pullman Market.
Yeah.
When you were starting out and you're creating the kitchen culture just in that single restaurant, I'm assuming again it was one of the it is, I mean, just got the Green Star, one of the best restaurants in Austin. So how were you all created all the culture for all the new people coming in? What was it like in those days?
Oof, man. So
it's 2014, right?
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it's 2015.
15, okay.
Yeah. So what, at that point, so I can't even speak exactly on it, and I'll tell you why. We both me and Kevin, we were like working, we're in the grind. Uh-huh. And that's our first restaurant, and we have heavy hitters in that restaurant. We got Paige Presley, we got these we have Danny that came from Key, Respecty that used to work at Uchi. It was heavy hitters in that space. Everybody's talented.
Yeah.
And we're in there trying to figure out, and not to mention a ton of egos.
Right.
So
in the kitchen, chef?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Ton of egos, man. So it was just like, it was one of the most happiest, fulfilling things because, we got excited about everything. And if you work with Kevin or you're around Kevin long enough, he gets excited about grains, right?
Yeah.
Rice, simple shit. You're like, wait, what? Why are you so excited? He's like, you don't understand. This was the first meal. Oh, okay, bro. So we had like these very exciting moments there, and we also had some of the hardest moments there. Culture was the only culture we really focused on was taste.
Yeah.
In that restaurant. Like, you have to know how to make food taste delicious.
Did you ever get to a point back then where you thought, we're not going to make it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what was that like?
Oh, yeah. That was stressful. We opened slow as hell, man.
Yeah.
We opened our restaurant, and we used to see 20 people a night. And this is stemming off of like we did the media thing, and we did I had the media come in and all that. So we are thinking like, oh, it's gonna pop off right away. Took like 3 to 4 months before it really popped off. We were climbing, right? We were making that 5-10%, but man, it was hard, and there was a lot of nights that we, like Kevin sold his car because we had to make payroll. We got to a space where we couldn't even give ourselves a raise or nothing. We were all working for low, like you're talking minimum wage. We were all working for that as owners of this business. And just to be able to make it, it was rough.
Yeah. At what point? So first it was Emmer. Second was Henbit, correct?
Yes.
But the second kind of full-service restaurant was Hestia.
Yes.
At what point did you say, okay, we're ready to go to step 2, open the second one? Yeah. Were you not ready? Like we're not ready.
You're
but let's
never
go?
ready, bro. You're never ready. You get in, and even to this day, our organization is build as you go.
Yeah.
We don't have it set up. We don't have the perfect blueprint. I think we're smarter than we're giving ourselves credit for. Let's just say that.
Okay.
But we literally build it block by block. Like we didn't know that we were going to do a grocery. We didn't. We don't know how to. We're restaurant people.
Right.
But if you're passionate enough about it, we'll figure it out. We're going to make some mistakes along the way.
And you have
we're going to learn.
And you have a smart team. Like I'll say it. You have a very smart team.
We got a smart team.
You do.
We really do. And we're able to. I think what's really good about Emmer Rye Hospitality is that we're able to pivot at any point. And we're crazy enough to pivot.
Yeah.
A lot of companies are scared to pivot. We're not.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Well, I think back when the pandemic hit, and we were all, what's going to happen? Right?
Yeah.
And it was during South by Southwest.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Oh,
so,
100%.
So I'm sure every restaurant is probably booked.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay,
gone.
We're not open. Not only do you lose when South by canceled, we all lost the money for months. And it was like, for people that don't know Austin, sometimes you're banking that South by Southwest money.
Oh, man.
It's going to carry you for 3 or 4 months afterwards.
Damn right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that was to go through that, to weather that storm. Was there ever a point where you thought we're not going to come out of this?
100%. We signed up. You know what saved us? Therapy.
Yeah.
We had group therapy, all the owners, because what happened is, and I remember specifically being on the back patio at Hestia. I don't think I've ever shared this, but we were all on the back patio at Hestia, and I lost it. I freaked out on my team. I'm like, yo, I'm not hearing nothing. Nobody's saying nothing. We don't know what the next move is. And we're all quiet, and we're all talking about we don't know. We need to know, because I have this mindset, like, I'm very good at compartmentalizing stuff. And I'm also really good at removing emotions and looking at the business. And then, I try to do that in most of the decisions I make. And because it's that mentality of like, all right, I'm down, now what? How are we getting out? Like, I have no time to dwell on the fact that I'm down.
Right.
So that was my frustration, was where everybody's like, I need time to process. And I'm like, I don't have time to process. I need to figure out what we're moving forward with. So we all we had a little venting session, and everyone chipped in on how they felt. And I was at that point is when we were like, we need to get counseling.
Yeah.
So during that time period, we had like our weekly meeting, counseling, where all of us would be on a Zoom, and that organization helped us to make better decisions and create pillars and our foundation and what we really want in life. Like a lot came out of that.
That's such an interesting thing. Mental health and wellness is a huge topic right now in every kitchen. More so now probably than ever. And I'm not saying it wasn't an issue 20 years ago, 10 years ago, but we're talking about it today where we weren't talking about it. It was just kind of all being swept under the rug. What are you doing for yourself, for your mental health and wellness? And then what are you doing for the teams that work in your kitchen?
So one thing, so we'll start with the team. we preach the importance of that for the team. So, making sure that everyone is having 2 days off is very important, a week. We don't need anyone that is coming into work, working 6 days, trying to. Now, there's situations that occur from time to time, but that is not the norm for us, and we make that clear. No one comes in and work off the clock, things of that nature. I don't need no line cook to be trying to push and do. You do 10 hours a day, that should be enough. So we want to make sure that vacation time is all built in, sick time built in. We do stipends for you to go and learn something in a different country, a different state. Every employee, they're eligible for that.
Wow, that's
every year.
Yeah, that's a great benefit.
So we make sure that happens, having events that are like team building events, bringing the teams together for different things, whether that's a holiday party or just go bowling as a team. We'll do things of that nature to kind of create a work environment. And then most importantly, the kitchen doesn't have to be that stressful space that it used to be. You can inspire people the right way and not through fear. And that was one thing that I had a big problem with how I came up in this industry. And I never wanted to be a restaurant owner that's how they operated, is by fear. So us being able to motivate our team, and where every day you feel part of something and you feel part of a group, is something that we take very seriously.
What do you do for yourself?
For myself, that's interesting. So I believe that to achieve the things that we want to achieve, you have to have drive, and you have to have perseverance. You have to have time and energy to put into it, right? No great success story happens for working 40 hours a week. It's not real. To become successful, you have to give up something to achieve this. But what's important is you have to have a time limit on everything, right? So if what's work-life balance? Well, right now, work-life balance for me is 80% work, 20% life. And that's because I have a plan. So in the next 4 years, I want to be able to be doing something else, which is more focused on my family. And for me to get there, I need to build a foundation that will set me up for that success.
Right.
So I have a time stamp on, I'm going to give my organization 80% of my time now. And I'm going to do all the things that I need to do to build that structure and foundation. And in the next 4 years, I want to drop that now to probably 50-50.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because that's something I think a lot of people miss. They want, in 10 years, what you're saying, in a few years, I want to be doing this. But that means you have to grind now.
Yes.
In order to do that. And so a lot of people get stuck because they don't want to grind now, because they want this life now, and then I want this great life later, but I'm not willing to sacrifice anything now for that later.
Right.
And it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. And I'm sorry, like, I'm going to go against what, all those awesome Instagram quick reels tell you, that how you can achieve and all that. Like, in the real life, in the real work, right? Unless we're talking about the hospitality business. We're talking about cooks and servers, right? We're talking about the people that are in the grind. This is not a startup tech company. Physical labor is necessary. Presence is necessary. You cannot manage someone from behind a computer screen.
Right.
So you have to be there to make sure this thing works. Now, you just have to have a time limit on it. And you have to create things and not just saying, oh, I'm going to go hard for 10. Like, you have to be strategic and think about, what does going hard to you mean?
Right.
Right? And because we all could be working hard, we're just not working efficient.
Yeah.
So you have to separate your work hard from your work efficiency. And then if those two things come together, I promise you're going to be successful. But you have to have a system set up for that. And you have to have these personal goals on what you're trying to achieve. So I'm busting my ass right now. Sleep, less. Time with family, less. Right? All of those things. I carry that burden now. But I know what I'm working towards. And as long as I have a goal on what I want to achieve, I'm okay with that sacrifice. And I have that conversation with my family all the time. And I let them know. And the 20% time that we're talking about that I have to spare, I get like some quiet time. I need like, when I get wind up, I need like that day of where nobody bothers me, where I can just sit around on Instagram and scroll. I need that. I need that one day of just getting up and doing nothing at all. I need that probably once every 2 weeks just to keep my sanity. Because I deal with so many people, I need to have like away from people time.
Yep. No,
So those are those things that I do, and I communicate that with my partner to make sure that we're both understanding of each other's wants and needs, and then obviously have to fulfill your personal life too.
It's funny. Someone asked me yesterday. I do a Q&A on Sundays, and they asked me, like, are you going to take off Christmas? I said, realistically, no. I still work every day. I still work every day because I'm building this Chef's PSA company.
Right.
So it's not. I'm not in the position where I could take days off, and I haven't taken a day off in about 2.5 years. Right. Even though I no longer work as a chef, I still work every day. It's different, but I still work every day, and that's what. I think a lot of people don't understand that when you want to build something, when you're trying to create something, it's a lot of effort.
Yes.
It's a lot of effort because the effort that you're putting in, you're planting seeds for later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the goal.
I'm going to ask you this about creativity. So the group is large and it's talented. Like you have, I was telling, I don't know who I was talking to the other day. We were talking about you all. I said, you guys don't understand how much talent's on this team.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of talent. Like it's you and Kevin, but there's talent. Like, it goes deep.
It goes deep.
It's not. It's Jorge, and there's more layers, right?
Yeah, and most importantly, we have 10 jobs under that one title, right? Because like I'm a pastry chef by trade, but I'm also do desserts. I'm also do hospitality. I'm also being able to train and motivate people. There's all these different layers that come. So you're not just getting one thing. You're getting a whole plethora of, same with Kevin. So we're all able to utilize all our talents to achieve goals.
So what's interesting about your group is that you have these all-stars, which on their own are top of the food chain.
Yes.
And then they come together like Voltron. Yeah. Right, and it's like you have this super group.
Right.
So I want to ask you about the creative process. Because you have all these heavy hitters in the room. How do you guys collaborate to come up with the menu ideas and the food? Number one, but also without. I know how chefs are.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's going to be some.
Yeah.
Unless they're all like. You got the perfect chefs that don't talk back.
No.
How do you come to a conclusion?
Yeah. Everyone has an opinion. We have a policy where when we do a tasting for owners in the space and corporate, if something isn't right, we are not too bold or brave to say, okay, let me pull back and refigure this thing out. We all have to agree on that thing, because if I love it and 4 other people love it that are not me, that has different backgrounds, then we're doing something right. We're speaking for a majority of the society. If I love it and 3 other people don't, then we're missing the point here, right? And we gotta look back at the drawing board. Sometimes things get through because it's like, nah, I really want to do this. I think it's gonna be a hit. All right, I trust you to move forward with that. But when we get up from that table, that we all on that page. whether we all agreed with it or not.
Does it ever happen? Does it ever happen? Like, I think this is going to be a hit, and then it's not.
Oh, all the time.
And then, like I told you.
Yeah, all the time. You say it in your mind. You're like, I told you in your mind, but all the time. Or something that you didn't believe was going to work, and then it's a hit, and you're like, oh, shit, I should have kept my mouth shut.
Right.
So we definitely have that space and time, and we give each other grace in that too, because I think that's important for a group. One is you have to give grace, and you have to understand that, and it's because that's a whole podcast, how to work in a group setting.
Right.
Not a lot of people can work with 5 partners that have 5 different perspectives.
And 5 different experiences of, some of you worked here, some of you worked there, some of you from this part of the world, the other part of the world.
It's really interesting. And it's something that I think needs to be talked about at some point, right? But by working in a group setting like that, we've learned, and when things are built on true, genuine relationship, you're able to give grace a lot more than if it was just a professional relationship.
So my last chef job, I had a big team with a lot of talented chefs as well. And we'd get into these situations where it was like, no, I like this. And I would always, as the head, I would always sit back.
Yeah.
And I would just listen. And I would always say, I carry 51% of the vote.
Right.
I won't exercise my right to vote unless I have to.
Right.
So every now and again, I'd have to step in and say, okay, I know all of you are against me, but just trust me. Or sometimes it'd be like, hey, I know all of you really want this, but it ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Let me just shatter your dreams now. It's not going on the menu.
Right. We have those moments too.
Yeah.
We have those moments too, man. And the thing is, most of us, like, we have Ladino, we got Emmer and Hestia. So different people play that 51% voting power is different in every restaurant.
Got it.
Because of the unique and the dynamic of business that we have and how we set it up.
Or is it also sometimes maybe the chef understands this type of food better?
Exactly.
Right. So
there's a lot more trust in that.
I trust you know what you're doing with this
Absolutely.
food. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I do want to ask you about if you had to distill all the wisdom that came from opening restaurants, the ups, the downs, the successes and the failures, for the people that are listening, what is something that, hey, you might not think about this, but before you open up a restaurant, make sure you look at these 3 things.
Numbers. Understand your numbers.
Okay.
Understand how to count money and how to spend money. That's the 2 most important things. You can have $1 million. If you don't know how to spend it, you do not have $1 million. You had $1 million. You need to know how to count money. Understanding your budgets and P&Ls. I say numbers first. Restaurant is, I view the restaurant and then there's restaurant business. Too many people focus on the restaurant. Not enough time on the restaurant business. If we're able to communicate and get the right deal, the right rent, the right team around you that doesn't cost you so much. So understanding your labor budget, and then building upon that, it gives you more room for the 3, because typically a restaurant, when you open a restaurant, you're not fully paying off that loan for like 5 years, right? That's typically when everybody's paid back. So you have to set up your business knowing that in 5 years, when everyone is paid back, what is the play after that? And if you don't have your budget in line to set you up for success after everyone is paid off, and you don't have this big overhead labor budget or your food cost is crazy, you're able to make bigger moves after 5 years of opening at one restaurant. And one restaurant is not going to get you nowhere. You need to, when you get to a space where you're accumulating great talent. You can't keep them in the same space, especially when you're the head. So understanding what that looks and feels like is something that's very important. The restaurant business is not just restaurant, so understand your business. Negotiating your contracts, making sure that your cost is in line, creating a P&L that truly reflects profit and at the minimum, not the maximum. That's very important. And then the next thing is being patient. Too many times people want to switch so fast because they heard somebody say something, or too many guests said the jerk chicken is too hot. So they're like, nah, we need to do a mild version. And what that does is it dilutes your brand. Don't dilute your brand. Stay focused and connected. Now, there's things that's not going to work, and you're going to have to change it. But don't change the core value of who you are. When you change who you are as a value, the guest feels and sees it, and they lose trust. And if I lose trust in you just one time at a restaurant, you're never going to get that back. Even if I come in and dine once in a while, I'm still not really trusting you. So that would be my thing. Numbers, believing in your core values, and being patient.
If you were going to give advice to a young chef coming into the industry right now, and you look back on your career, back to when you were just starting as a line cook, what advice would you give them to help them succeed in today's industry?
Take advantage of every opportunity that presents itself to you, every good opportunity that presents itself to you. And don't be afraid to fail. As a young chef, your ego gets in the way a lot of times. I've had to swallow my ego a lot of times, whether that's someone making an inappropriate racial comment, whether that's someone, making a comment about how tall I am and how I'm making cupcakes. There was a lot of reasons, whether people make comments that I'm from the Caribbean and they don't understand my lingo, whatever it is. I've been through the gamut. I choose not to focus on those things because I truly believe that, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. As humans, we're going to be okay. So, really taking that's what I would say.
I always ask people this. Having a pastry background, if you had to put a Mount Rushmore of the 4 greatest pastry chefs of all time, who's on that Mount Rushmore of pastry chefs for you?
That's rough. Let me preface this by saying this, right? I am different in the pastry world, in this world already. I hardly look at what other people are doing, and that's the truth. If I work with someone, I respect their hustle. I'll go with that. I don't see anyone and say, oh, man, I don't have that in me. I only respect people that I know.
Okay.
That's my thing. I mean, I shouldn't say that. That sounds weird. I do respect, but as far as craft, because there's a lot of really talented chefs we know.
You've seen it, you've tasted it, you've seen them
right.
work.
There's a lot of talented chefs we know that are assholes, bro.
Yeah.
That are terrible people. And we look at them and we admire, oh, man, he's so cool.
It's like they say, don't meet your heroes.
Exactly. So I keep my things. So I can't remember. I'm terrible with names, by the way. But Francisco, that is at Noma right now. He's one that I respected because at 17, he was like, he could have easily judged me because of how I used to look and carry myself. And he's like, nah, you got something. Push. I have another pastry chef that worked with me at the River Cafe, Ellen Sterno. She was really good. And what she taught me was how to chill. Because coming from the River Cafe, come from the beginning with Francisco, it was like militant. And she was like, no, we talented people. We can make this fun too. So it was different. It was a very different energy that she brought into the space. And then another chef, my chef, you know what? Paula Velez.
Okay, yeah.
You
introduced me to her.
Yes. Yeah. That young lady is so talented, and it's one of the smartest. Like, when we talk about understanding business and art, she walks that line. She completely understands the business. And for being as young as she is and being able to achieve the things that she's been able to achieve, I think that I admire her work. And I see it and I touch it. It's amazing.
If you had a chef's PSA out there that you would say to the world, either start doing this or stop doing this, chefs, what would it be?
Stop thinking you're not good enough and start thinking that you belong where you are. And by thinking that you belong where you are, it humbles you a little bit. Because you're not striving, you don't have anything to prove. You've earned you've earned the space you stand in. What you have to work on is to get to the next level. So stop fighting for more room in the space that you have already occupied. You have it already. And stop thinking that you're not good enough. A lot of times it's in our head.
Right.
Sometimes some of the most smartest people that we meet is not the smartest people that we meet. Some of the most wealthiest people that we meet, it's not the smartest people that we meet. Opportunities show up for different people in different spaces. And they've just been really good at taking advantage of an opportunity that shows up. You can too. So you're not there because you just haven't gotten there yet, but believe and trust that you will get what you deserve.
That was beautiful, Chef. Where can people find you?
Man, so one, you can find me on Instagram, Tavel19. I try to respond and communicate. I answer a lot of questions on there. Don't send nothing under any post that I put up. I do not respond to anything under a post. Send me a private message and I will respond that way. Or you can find me at Pullman Market. Most of my time now is there. Or you can tap in at any one of the restaurants, whether that's Kanji, Hestia, Emmer, Calimocho in Austin. One day out of the week or once every 2 weeks, I'll be in every location. So I'm still boots on the ground, but majority of the time, I'm at Pullman these days.
Well, thank you, Chef. It was good catching up.
Yeah, man. It's been great. Thank you so much for having me, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you want to support the show, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else, make sure you leave 5 stars. It's a 5-star podcast. I'm a 5-star man. If you want to get chef brains, I have lots of books available. English, Spanish, Italian. Some are free. You get free ebooks. Go to chefspsa.com where you get all of that. If you want early access to podcast episodes, you could become a subscriber on Spotify and also on Substack. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
No André in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction. Stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, class is in session.